fixing my biological clock. Circadian rhythm is all I got. Cleaning the body, it takes a lot. Been out of sync, time for the deep.
Sibilance through the window, but then I sometimes let it all the way down so I can hear what nature sounds like in speed. And sometimes you cannot uniform it, you cannot make sense of it, but it does something to you and your psychoacoustics. Because, like, I'm musically inclined, and nature helps me be who I am. So sometimes, like, even just going to sit in nature, write in nature, visualizing nature helps. And that's another form of meditation for me. So I think meditation is probably number one for me alongside of praying. I just think you got to understand who you are.
You do. And understanding who you are, another practice that I have is silence.
Silence.
I do everything that, like, when we were hiking today, and I can hear the music in the air, and I can hear the wind hit the trees and make a sound. People don't think about how beautiful that is. When the wind and the trees and the leaves are making music, or the water with the wind.
Oh, that's different.
And it's different.
That's
and
different.
You're actually listening to it and getting in tune with it, man. It could bring you a lot of peace. It could bring you a lot of peace, and that's that balance you need. That's that peace you need. That's that real energy.
No, for real. It's unpredictable too, and you know how to prepare for the unknown. It's just having that open and optimistic mindset and not expecting nothing. You know what I'm saying? And you talk about tools. I talked about being by myself in the form of isolation, but
healthy.
But laughing by yourself is another one. Enjoying you and the things you know you can do, the things you know you're about to do, things you have done.
It feels good.
Self-celebration.
It feels good.
Yep.
It
Laugh,
does. It feels good.
Praising yourself, like things like that. Like, we got to be selfish sometime, and I think, man, you don't need to laugh. You don't got to laugh with people and, be happy with other people all the time. You got to learn how to be like that with yourself, and I think that's
to yourself like that.
Yeah, just a lot of self stuff, man. Like when you think about it. So
I went to the movies alone a few times. I used to I would go to the movies alone, walk around the mall alone, do a lot of things alone, and being okay with it, actually being happy with it. It was a little scary at first walking there, like, what am I doing? But once I sat down and started looking at the movie, bro, I had a good time.
It's okay.
I had a great time, and I was like, oh, hi, me. What's up, me? Like, we here. This is us. And then I really started digging into who I am. And it starts being selfish and spending some healthy isolation time. Spending time alone, spending time in silence. Silence is a whole conversation by itself.
Right.
By itself, you're hearing your thoughts. They're going to speak. It gets loud. The silence gets loud. All your anxiety, all your fears speak up. All your thoughts start to talk.
Man.
You can hear every piece of you in that silence, all your questions. And I think that's when I began to journal, too. Because I started to hear things. And I was like, I got to write this down. Something's speaking to me, and it's getting loud. And that's because I was in silence.
Man, I like to topic that with, I call it dating yourself. What you just said.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
You took yourself to the movies.
Yep.
I take myself out to eat as well. I sit alone. Like, I think about nothing too sometimes, but like, date yourself.
Yeah. That's loving yourself, man.
Loving yourself.
Loving yourself.
Like I told you, there's a lot of self stuff.
It is. Cooking. I was cooking, and cooking is another form for me of being in nature. I was taking my time and cutting up all the vegetables, getting everything prepared, and actually like loving myself and feeding my body, creating that good energy while I was cooking.
Yes, sir.
And then putting it in my body, and then meditating and writing.
Yeah, man, we connected, man. Here's another tip, though. I'm not going, and I know people probably be like, just disconnecting from the world and like social media, like the phone. Fast, because I fast every day. It's got to be times where you just, because it's so much. You can have nothing on your brain, but you can have everything on your brain when you get the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it contaminates the mind. It's a lot of subliminal advertising. It's a lot of stuff that we can't, feel or see that's hitting us in different frequencies. in between the frequencies that we ultimately already operating on. But that phone and all the things you can hear, see, and the things that it make up in the mind and in the soul and the spirit, it changes you instantly. So I think that's the huge tip. Like disconnecting from the social network is very imperative to life.
You spoke about that as adults, us, and we're speaking to adults out there about the phone, and about how it can contaminate you and influence you. Essentially, it really can. I'm very careful about what goes into my mind, what I feed my ears with, because a lot of times it can become you, and you have no idea why. But if you take that and you give it to a child, and you wonder why your child is off, because you don't give them any time to separate from that or teach them about that or teach them why, and it's just here. And they're just, I've seen a kid like that before, man, just glued to it, and you take it away, they throw a fit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. With that, the next generation those are the leaders of the world.
Yeah.
How can they lead the world when they're led by so much contamination? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't have those resources growing up. And I'm not saying that it's ultimately all bad.
It is not all bad, but we need balance, and you need to know how to control it. You need to know yourself, and you need to know I knew today when I was going hiking, we are all putting our phones up. I was very thankful. We all put our phones in the car. We went hiking 3-4 hours. Got back, and man, I can breathe. I didn't immediately get back and like, oh my God, I got it. No. I was like, we're here. We're here. And those times are needed.
And the communication now is different too, like the phones. We remember pagers back in the day, two ways. So imagine like telling a significant other like you're not talking on the phone for a day. That's a problem. Not only are you going to just talk on it, you're going to get involved in other things. Even conversations are interrupted by default because you ain't got to put your ear on it.
Yeah.
You could just talk through the speaker, and then you really not locked in on the conversation. You checking all these emails. And I'm not blaming social media for anything, but you're checking your social media the most. All of these networks you connected to, it put dampers on real life relationships, man. You can't, like, sometimes you just need to be like, I don't want to utilize my phone. I don't even want to touch my phone today.
It's the choices we make and what we allow. It has nothing to do with social media. Social media could be a great tool. We took that tool and did something else. It's what we do with it. It's a good tool, but it's what we do with it.
You absolutely right.
Are, as creatures, man, those things get addictive. And if I know for a fact that I have problems sometime with my phone, I can feel that if my phone's over there, when I notice myself get a little hesitant, want to grab it real quick, something's off. I got to put that up. And that's going to be, it's a constant battle. It's never going to be a whole thing where you got it all together. Never.
Nah, because I'm a victim too.
Yeah, we're all victims, but you got to stay balanced. You got to remind yourself of it too. So accountability to yourself.
Yes,
which
sir.
goes into self-education.
Self-education. I told you this was all about self.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Speak on self-education and what it is.
Man, self-education is intentional. It's like the process of being selective about what you want to learn in an informal like manner. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To dig deep, like even somebody like me, like my longest professional formal career has been education, school. Started when I was 4, all the way up through to college. I graduated college. So yes, discipline in that. I love that part. But I was bothered by some of the subject matter growing up. Like, why do I have to learn this? Why?
Man, it still bothers me when I see it.
You know what I'm saying?
It still bothers me, man.
So sometimes, to be successful, you have to do the things you don't want to do, right? So just understanding that and that discipline, and that's a life lesson. But just thinking about my longest formal career, and I wouldn't even say, like, school is not a job, right? But things change over the years, and going to college, you get to be a little bit more selective.
Yes.
But in that career that I had breaks. I even dropped out of school before. If nobody knew, I dropped out of school.
Oh, yeah.
I dropped out of high school. I almost didn't make it there, and I dropped out of college, and I went back. All because of the discipline and the feeling and the urge of other things, not the subject matter. But I figured out, it's a finesse game. I utilized it to try to build things that I really wanted to do, and the things outside of school. I was kind of like into all of the arts and stuff like that. Like I'm an artist, so music, barbering, just drawing, painting,
all that creative work helps.
Yeah,
Becoming a whole person, it helps.
very therapeutic for me. So like, while I was thinking about school as I got older, like picking a major, I'm like, dang, there's really no schools out here that has a specific thing for me.
Guy.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you good.